All right, hello. This is Mrs. Patterson and Mrs. Felix, and we are coming back at you. This is week 5, day 3, and we are learning all about comparing and contrasting different points of views. Let's go ahead and get ready with our pledge of success. We are going to wrap our minds around how successful we can be today if we stay focused. So 1, 2, 3. I will be the rose that grew from the concrete, able to stand on my own feet. I am proud of who I am and confident in who I'll be. If I'm focused, I will achieve anything that I can dream. Look out, world, because once I've started, there is nothing stopping me. All right, so now that we are ready, we know that there's nothing stopping us. Once we're ready to go and we're all set and focused, let's go ahead and get started with our goal of achieving ELA GSE 4 RL6, or better known to you all as our ability to compare and contrast the point of view from which different stories are narrated, including the difference between first and third person narrations. So today is Wednesday. By Friday, each of us will confidently and proudly be able to say, I can now compare and contrast different points of view. Just to remind you of our academic words this week, we have the word narrator, point of view, first person, third person, compare, and contrast. So if you are doing well and you are following along, you are truly comprehending these lessons, you should understand that the narrator is the person who tells the story. The point of view is how he or she thinks and feels about the story's events. When the narrator is a character in the story and uses mostly pronouns that have the words I, me, my, mine, we, us, or ours, that is known as a first person narration or a first person point of view. When the narrator is not a part of the story but is sitting back telling you the events of somebody else's life, and they use the pronouns they, them, he, she, him, her, or give you the character's name, that is known as a third person narration. So our goal is to be able to read any text, any type of literature, and determine whether or not it is a first-person narration or a third-person narration. And not only do we want to be able to identify what point of view the story is, we also want to be able to compare, tell the similarities between them, and contrast, telling the differences between them. So we're going to do this by reading a new story today. This story is going to be one that is science fiction. That is the genre of today's story. Science fiction means that it is still fictional, it is still fake, but there are some real things from science that are included in it. Some key details for when something is scientific: it usually deals with extraterrestrials or aliens, it deals with space, or it deals with the future or a lot of technology. So those are the clues that you are reading a scientific or a science fiction text. Today, as we read, I want you all to pause this video and take the time to read independently. And the first time that you read through the story, I want to make sure that you're reading to understand simply what the story is all about, who are the characters, what is the setting, all of those different story elements. Afterwards, I want you to reread the story so that you can identify who the narrator is and then pinpoint what the point of view of the narrator is, whether that is first person or third person. As you read, you might come across some words that are a little bit difficult for you the first time. I want you to still go ahead and read through the story, even if there are places that are difficult, and place a check mark above any of those confusing words. And then when you go back, I want you to look inside, look around, and look beyond each of those unknown words or phrases and see if you can try to figure out their meaning. So you can pause this video now and read independently, or you can join me as we read our scientific fiction or our science fiction story, If Only This Were Real, by Jing Wu. Hoshi stared at the clock over a panel in the spaceship. The school day was almost over, and she couldn't wait to meet her friend Jerry. Their newly created visual game awaited them on Deck C. Incredibly exciting, the game made space-time seem to pass much faster. At least the new teacher, Fox 23, was more interesting than the last Class A instructional robot. Soon it completed the lesson. Then it announced what it always said. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and have another lovely day. Hoshi glanced out the window into the blackness of space. Every hour of every day, the view looked the same. Having spent half her life traveling to a lush planet in another galaxy, Hoshi recalled little else. She would be 15 by the time they arrived at their new home. After class, Hoshi and Jerry raced straight to Deck C and entered one of the 3D rooms that could create any scene a person imagined. Jerry excitedly pressed some buttons and called out, "Computer, run the program Old Earth School on a Big Hill. Make it look real." The bare room instantly changed into an old-fashioned classroom with a dusty blackboard mounted behind an old wooden desk. Sunlight from large windows filled the dusty air. As Hoshi and Jerry looked outside, they could see white clouds, blue sky, flowering trees, green grass, and a playground. They politely asked their human teacher, Mrs. Ryan, "May we go outside for recess?" "If only this were real, Jerry," Hoshi said wistfully. "Maybe sometime in the future, things truly will be this good." So that is our story, If Only This Were Real. And as we said, this is a science fiction story. And we said some of the clues about science fiction is that it is set in space, which our story was. And we can see by this illustration, our characters, Jerry and Hoshi, were actually students that lived on a spaceship in this story. So all they've ever known is what it's like to be in the blackness of outer space. And so later on, they go and create their own classroom with the simulation that they have on Deck C. So they're saying if only this simulation where, even though in real life for these two students, all they know is a spaceship, they went and created a place that had a playground and a human teacher and things that they don't see in their everyday life. We have the opposite experience. Maybe we wish, if only we could go live in a spaceship and see what that's like. But for them, since that is their reality, they really wish that it was real, that they lived on Earth or on a planet that had a schoolhouse and had grass and trees and a playground. So that's just a quick summary of our story, If Only This Was Real. I want to make sure that you all truly understand this story. So one question, what does Hoshi see when she looks out of the window of the spaceship? Hoshi sees the blackness of space, so it's just nothing out there. What have Hoshi and Jerry created on Deck C? Great job. They created their own game called Old Earth School on a Big Hill. In the scene they created, what do Hoshi and Jerry see when they look out of that window? Perfect. You should have said that they see sunlight, clouds, sky, trees, grass, and a playground. And last but not least, how do Hoshi and Jerry feel about the game? Amazing. You guys are so smart. Yes, the game is very excited to them, and they want it to be their actual environment. They wish that it was real. So the whole point of us reading through this story today is not only to understand what scientific fiction is, but we're really working on that standard, being able to compare and contrast the different points of view in any type of literary text. So here we want to read through and figure out what point of view is this narrator using. So the first step is to figure out who is the narrator, who is the person telling our story. We can figure that out by rereading the text and looking for those key pronouns. If this is in first person, it's going to include the narrator as one of the characters. And if the narrator is in the story, we're going to use words like I, me, my, mine, us, and ours. If it's in third person, the author is going to use words such as they, them, he, him, she, her, or they might simply state the character's name. So let's just reread this first paragraph and see if we can figure out if this is in first or third person narration. Hoshi, that looks like a character's name to me. Hoshi stared at the clock over a panel in the spaceship. The day was almost over, and she couldn't wait to meet with her friend, Jerry, another character's name. Their newly created visual game awaited them on Deck C. Incredibly exciting, the game made space-time seem to pass much faster. So let's see, we saw characters' names like Hoshi and Jerry. Then we saw other pronouns like she couldn't wait, her friends. Oh, the new game awaited them, and it was their newly created game. I don't see me, my, us, ours, we, or mine. So that tells me that our narrator is not in this story, but is instead telling us a story about other characters. So that would lead me to believe that this is written in third person narration. So now I've read the story to you all, but I've been helping you guys a lot this week. What you all are going to do from here is to go look at your Nearpod and click on the page that says page 289. And you're going to see questions 1 through 4. It's going to be your job to use either your marker tool or your highlighting tool to circle the correct answers for questions 1 through 4. Question 1 reads, this passage is told by a third-person narrator. Oh, we did that because we found all of those pronouns to help us out. Select 3 sentences that indicate the narrator is a third-person narrator. So we're looking for evidence here. How do we know for sure that this is third person? I'm going to give you a hint with your answers. You are looking for those pronouns or those characters' names that show us that the narrator is not in the story. So we shouldn't see I, we shouldn't see me or my. We want to look for other characters' names or pronouns like they, them, he, him, she, or her. Question 2 says, reread paragraph 3. If the story were told in first person, which of the following would most likely be part of the story if it was told in first person? Remember, a huge difference between first person and third person is that with first person, you only know what is happening to that one character who is in the story. But with third person, we can see a lot of different people's perspectives. So keep that in mind, and I'm going to stop before I give you too many answers. I do want you to talk about question number 3 with either a parent, a guardian, or a sibling. And then finally, the short response, you all are going to actually answer that on the Google form, which is going to be on the next page of your Nearpod. So once you finish answering questions 1 and 2 and talking about question 3, you're going to scroll over to the next screen in your Nearpod and actually click on this link where it says click here to open web browser, and it is going to take you to the Google form that you need to complete here. So make sure that you follow through and that you are following along correctly. And that is truly all that I have for you all today. You guys have been doing a great job following along, and I'm very grateful. Remember that our goal all this week is to be able to compare and contrast the point of view from which different stories are narrated, including the difference between first and third person narrations. So if you guys have really taken the time to read these stories on your own, to listen to these videos thoroughly, and to complete your Nearpods and your iReadies in totality, then you are going to feel very confident by Friday saying that, yes, I can compare and contrast the different points of views in a story. That's all Miss Felix and I have for you today. We look forward to you joining us again tomorrow on day 4 of week 5, where we are all learning about point of view. I hope you all have a wonderful day. If you can, get outside at some point in your yard and just take in some fresh air. Have a wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you next time.